Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Doing Well, the Wellbeing Science Insights Podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We're champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm your host, Lu Ngo, coming to your ears from Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. Let's learn together. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Doing Well. And we're here with another episode this week. And on today's topic, we're going to talk about the art of mindfulness, embracing the present moment. We have a very special guest in our virtual studio today, and I'm very excited to talk to her about the topic because I think she's very on brand with the topic. You'll find out very shortly why. Today we have with us Teju Nageswari. She is the CEO of nSmiles, which is an organization that equips people with skills and habits to perform one's best potential, be calmer and happier in life. Hi, Teju. Welcome to the studio and the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me there.
Yeah, we're really excited to talk to you. I know we've encountered a couple of issues before, so I think bringing mindfulness to this very moment is super important. And I'm really curious to hear from you why you chose to do the work that you've been doing, and you found this organization, this wonderful organization that is all about people's potential, happiness and calmness in life. I find that to be a very unique space. And I know that more and more organizations are doing this nowadays, but I'm sure you have your own story. So let us know why you're doing this.
So I started this maybe 15 years ago when I got married. I got into a family with mental illnesses, and I'm an engineer by training. And it was all new world for me because those days when we are engineers, we are only trained on logicality and nothing about being mindful or anything like that. Or neither we knew any of those positive coping for us to handle this stressor in a very meaningful manner. So naturally I got depressed, and then I went into that loophole. And then I realized there's something which is really missing for all us engineers, because I was a super performer at work. I used to get a lot of awards every quarter and quarter. Still, my personal life, I didn't know how to handle my stressor. So I did my psychology degree to just manage myself and my family. And then when I was doing multiple of other elements, I realized that probably that's my maybe life purpose, to bring technology on psychology to build products that can help individuals make positive choices, stay healthy at mind, and be well, and do good for themselves and for the greater good of society. So that was the inception with which I developed an app, and instantly it got into top 6 grossing apps in the world. It's called Happy Being, way in 2014. And there were like more than 2 lakh installs and stuff like that, but none from India. So I'm a patriot. So I thought, if a lot of people outside the world see a value in it, why is that there were 0 installs from India? So that's when I started doing things which can help bring these self-care practices into Indians in a way that can become part of their lifestyle. And through that, how they can be their best self. So that's a short journey. And from there, I've done a lot. I mean, my curriculums have been integrated into Government of Karnataka from where I live. It reached more than 2 lakh students, and it's continuing to build skills at a youth level. And then I've been a TEDx speaker. I've been awarded multiple happiness leader awards. And so it continues. So it's a very fruitful journey that I get to make a lot of difference in people's lives through not as a distress care, but all through the continent through self-care.
Yeah, that's really wonderful to hear. I love that you talk about your journey in such detail, and you've been open and honest about your own struggles. And I feel like, the happiest people, or the people that the best well-being, are the ones that have been through the worst. So, they kind of know how to pick themselves up, and they kind of try to not only help themselves, but help others. And I think that's truly beautiful. So thank you for that. I'm really excited to talk to you about mindfulness today. I think we need that more than ever, especially in the context of us figuring out all the things that just happened before the show started. But jokes aside, I think it's more than that. Our society nowadays is probably going through a very interesting period with a lot to navigate, and mental health issues are on the rise. So I think, embedding mindfulness into our lives is something that would truly help our well-being. Before we go into that particular part of the topic, let's talk about you. Let's get to know you a bit better. This part is called Have You Met Teju? So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I would love to get some of your recommendations. So first thing first, what is a book you would recommend?
Think and Grow Rich. I love a book.
Yeah, that's a great one.
And also Hooked. I'm reading nowadays a book called Hooked, which are making systems, which habit building systems. So I would want to use technology for good. So I'm using that. Yeah. I'm reading that also.
That's interesting. I haven't heard of that one. So now I have that on my list. Thank you. What is a movie you would recommend?
I'm not a movie person, so sorry.
That's okay. What is the latest movie you've watched then?
Bahubali. It's called Bahubali. It's an Indian made movie. So I watched that. Was good.
Oh, that's cool. How about a podcast?
I am not a podcast person either. This is my first or second podcast where I'm being a speaker, but I don't find time to listen to podcasts. Yeah. So I'm so sorry about it.
Oh, no need to apologize. Totally understandable. Some of our guests say the same thing. They're like, I don't listen to podcasts. So yes, there are times when I don't listen to podcasts either. And other times I'm really into it.
But I do listen to a lot of spiritual things, if that's considered to be podcast for my self-growth and development. I do follow many masters speaking about Bhagavad Gita, Buddhism, and then mindfulness or any other self-compassion study. So I do listen to a lot of things, but perhaps it may not be as part of the podcast, but maybe on my YouTube or the Amazon Prime subscription.
That's really good to hear. Yeah, I think now we do have a lot of podcasts in those areas too. So in a way that can count. So next question, who is your role model? This could be either a famous person or just someone in your lives, or your personal role model.
I do have two people as role models. One is Ratan Tata sir, who is a philanthropist and a great businessman I look forward. And the other is Jungkook from BTS. So I'm a very big fan of the way he sings and puts a lot of hard work in terms of his craft. So I'm a fan of him.
Oh, wow. So interesting. Yeah, thanks for that. We have a lot of BTS fans on our team, so I'm pretty sure they'll be thrilled to hear this.
That's it from my end. Ratan Tata and Jungkook are my favorite role models.
Yeah, cool. Final question in this part. What is a course you've completed that's left a really strong impact on you?
Yeah. Recently, I have done... it has nothing to do with mindfulness, but it's in my spiritual growth, on my growth as a human. It's on Akashic Healing certification. So I've recently completed that certification. I'm going through that certification and it's on the journey, but that's the recent thing I've been doing. of late.
Yeah.
It's
Wow,
a
that's so interesting. Thank you for sharing.
yeah, it's a yearly program, so it's a new experience from. It's not. I mean, I've done a lot of certifications, but this is a whole different experience altogether.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds really fascinating for sure. It's different from what we normally hear on this show, but nonetheless, really on brand. Thank you for sharing. All right, let's talk about mindfulness and well being and everything in between. First thing first, we always ask our guests to define well being because it means different things to different people. So, Teju, what does well being mean to you?
To me, well-being means not just absence of illness or uh, having one element of life that's working, but it's at a holistic way. How fulfillingly I'm living my life, how satisfied we are with our life in terms of my health, how do I eat, sleep, my nutrition, and my diet, and sleeping habits. Fine, at least minimally do I find 30 minutes to exercise every day? How do I nurture my relationships? How do I be a contribution to the society? Or about how do I manage my day-to-day emotions and feelings and thoughts and make healthier choices? How environmentally conscious I am? How much I'm promoting sustainability in my daily life? Or how much I'm fulfilled with my work? How do I find more and more purposeful way of living my career, my work, leave a deep impression with all the people I work with, and make a sustainable changes in their lives? Along with how do I manage my money, be it at my work or at my personal level? How do I make healthier choices into my financial elements? And how do I prioritize experiential living rather than materialistic living? That matters a lot to me. And then finally about the spiritual element, which is how do I connect to the higher self of mine and to the divine? Apart from this, I also look at one last element which not many people do talk about, which is my relation with my own self. How do I relate with my own self? How acceptful I am about my own strengths and flaws, and how I'm okay with sometimes not being okay, and how I allow myself to take a slumber, or I don't want to do anything certain days, and learn to be okay with that too. So this is whole as part of my well-being. I consider each of these dimensions. But one interesting thing is at times one element of well-being, which may be a physical element, becomes stronger when my health is not so well. And at times when I had to look at relations and being grateful for people around me for their contribution. So I extremely feel grateful. So I nurture my social. So usually it is not at a, though I talk about it at a holistic way, it's not that we can just say holistic is one angle. It has multiple dimensions. When all of these can come together, it just becomes a symphony, which is beautiful and makes our life more happier and meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love that you not only talk about different aspects, but you give examples about what it means to you. And while it's quite personal to you, I can totally relate with a lot of the things that you're saying, especially when you say, value the experiential living than, materialistic acquisition. And I think that is something that we are all, on a journey to try to embrace and do more of, because in this day and age it's really easy to just kind of like, oh, let's buy this, let's get that, that's going to make us happy, window shop, or like retail therapy. But in fact, I've actually noticed in the past few months, going through a tough mental health period myself, I realized that going out, experiencing life, whether it be like going to see a musical or going camping, or just having a brunch with friends, that is so much better than buying myself something nice. And
Absolutely.
I think that is kind of like, it's still really nice to buy myself something nice,
Yes.
but I'm trying to embrace spending money on experiences, and I think that's something that I personally relate with a lot. I'm not sure about our audience, but I think that's beautiful because
Thank
we
you.
need more of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So now that we've talked about your personal definition, I also want to hear from you, because I'm sure you've worked with a lot of individuals, in your line of work. Perhaps you've done hands-on sort of work with people, or you've done research or reading and all that sort of things. What are some of the biggest misconceptions do you think people have when it comes to well-being?
Good question. Many people think well-being is only physical well-being. Well-being is to be considered only when you're sick. That becomes my top priority. Till then, I don't care about well-being. I'm all well. I don't have to care. So I wanted to bring a small element of well-being is not only for people who are going through illness. Well-being is a continuum. Anybody who, as a human being, we can experience ups and downs all through our life. So it can happen, a crisis can happen at any point of time. So I would recommend to look at well-being at a holistic point. And the other misconception people have is that only rich people can care about well-being. Happiness is, it's not we deserve to be happy. Everyone, it's our birthright to be happy. So it's not just for people who are rich, who are wealthy, and who has achieved a lot of things. Only then it is something that they have to look about their well-being. Wherever you are, it's just a choice that, okay, today I'm doing well. I'm gonna do well, and I'm gonna be well. And from there it starts. Taking those mini steps, small goals, small elements, which can take us to be a better version of our own self, right? So that's something which many people also take it as something which, okay, I will achieve this goal. I'll get to this place in my career. I'm going to get this wealthier. I'm going to get into a relationship. After that, I'm going to look at well-being. So well-being is part and parcel of our life. It is not a destination. It is a journey. We need to always have our own ways of caring about our own self in every area, whatever we are doing, be it at our work or the way we manage our relationships or our own emotions or health or your relation with your higher up or with respect to your environment. Every single place you are, you can still make a difference to yourself and others by looking at not just for yourself, but at a greater good in every place you are at. So that are some things which I really looked at. And then assuming that when you look after your well-being, people will not have any problems. As I said, again, life is all about ups and downs. And it's all about you consciously making healthier choices. You being conscious or you being mindful enough before or at the moment you're able to make an unhealthy choice and see how you can do the best you can, which can serve yourself or the other to the highest of the ability you are having at that particular moment. So this is what we need to do. But it's not that, okay, I have achieved a certain portion of nirvana, so I'm all good. No. Even you're being the best day yesterday, today still you need to strive towards being a better self and make healthier choices. And we can't assume that it's because today money is important to me and I'm working towards financial well-being. I can't assume that another person, a family member, a colleague or a friend for whom physical health or physical well-being is a priority, I can't negate those thoughts of theirs. I need to be respectful that today for me, as money is important, for other person, probably relations are important. And the choices they make, prioritizing relationship over money, matters to that person because of which they're taking that choice. So that element of empathy is important when we look at well-being of not just ourselves, but our immediate family members or acquaintances or friends or peers at work or friends at school and colleges. So these are the certain misconceptions I have observed when I was working with people.
Yeah, I think those are really true. I think a lot of people get into those traps nowadays. And, we see that well-being is kind of a spectrum. It's not a state that is fixed. And I guess for a lot of us, we're still on that journey. I really love that you said, it's even if it's great today, it doesn't mean you stop working on it, because I think it's truly a journey, right? It doesn't matter what happens before or today or what might happen tomorrow. It's actually something we need to embrace working on all the time. And in fact, like when things are going great, it's even more important to spend that energy on, okay, now I have the energy to think about my well-being. What else can I improve?
Yes.
What are some of the pitfalls, right? And to me, I think it's been really interesting, because I went through a period recently where, everything was going well, like it was amazing. But I didn't stop my mindfulness practice in the form of meditation. And I'm drawing us to the topic of the day. And I found that it really helped, because I'm still in that, like in that mindset that, I need to connect with myself. I really need to like meditate to make sure I have that mindfulness in my life. And when things are not going as well as I wanted them to, I'm still okay. Like I can still manage myself. And I find that to be actually quite true, because, shortly after that, the great period, things were kind of like going down a little bit. I had some issues with mental health, but I kept up that mindfulness practice and I kept meditating. And I find that to be extremely helpful. So today we're talking about mindfulness, right? We all know, and nowadays, at least most of us know how important mindfulness is in our lives, and meditation is one form of it, not everything.
Yes.
So to our audience who might have a varying degree of understanding mindfulness, maybe we should start with defining it. I know it's not on the agenda, but I would love to start with that. I'm sure you can define it quite easily. So how do you define mindfulness?
I would say mindfulness is about being in that present moment, bringing moment by moment awareness about the current experience you are having. It could be in the form of your thoughts, it could be in the form of your bodily sensations, or what your senses, whatever is around you. So if you could bring that moment by moment awareness without judging it, let that moment be there as is and allow it to pass away without you adding something to it or trying to discount it in any manner. So this is the simplest description I give to the students, because I want it to be very practical and easier when I'm talking certain things. So I usually tell it in this manner, saying how you can be so present at that moment, at that experience, and the next moment, the next experience. So whatever you're doing, if you can bring that being present to that experience fully, to the best you can at this current moment, because everyone has varying levels of being mindful. But the journey, as you rightly said, starts somewhere. We need to just start, and when you start, you may find yourself being distracted a number of times, or you can see how busy your mind is working all the time, thinking about a lot of things which may not be relevant to the work you're doing, or how mindlessly you're doing things in an autopilot mode. But once you bring awareness, there is some magic that happens to that whole experience. And that is something we personally have to experience to be able to put it in words, because it's us to discover that magic.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think using the word magic is really sort of accurate, even though it's not probably scientifically proven, because magic is, a word that's kind of like, is that research based?
Magic is my word.
I think it's interesting you said that.
Proven. It's not proven. It's not scientifically validated that mindfulness can bring magic into your life. Yeah. But it's
absolutely. I hear you.
It just happens. You just feel fuller, more fuller, more. The experience transforms to something bigger. So that's something which we can't just put it in words. We need to experience that in whichever capacities, but still it would be magical. That's what I mean to say.
Yeah, I believe in research studies, they have different ways of explaining, like the impact and the benefit of mindfulness.
Yes.
But to you, if it feels magical, I mean, it's actually a really accurate way to explain it, because me too.
Yeah.
And to me, not scientifically proven, but to me, it's like, it helps me to connect with myself better. And this is something that you talked about earlier, right? Your relationship with yourself.
Yes.
And to me, it feels cathartic sometimes.
Yes.
Other times it feels comforting.
Yes.
And like on other days, it just feels helpful to have that meditation and mindfulness practice, because I'm not on autopilot, or, like I pay a little bit more attention than usual. And I find that to be important.
Yes, 100%. I'm so happy. I'm so glad I'm talking to you. We are on the same page.
Me too. Me too. Thank you for that. Okay, so we've covered how you define mindfulness. And I'm sure, like we all have read upon the topic, or most of us know a thing or two about this topic. But there are probably some things that we assume or we see people do, and we're kind of like, oh, that's mindfulness, but maybe they're not. So I wonder, in your work and in what what would be some of the myths and misconceptions surrounding the practice of mindfulness, and what are the actual facts when it comes to mindfulness?
Oh, again, a great question. So most of us, especially from Indian context, also otherwise also maybe, people think mindfulness is a religious practice rather, or it's a spiritual practice. So what I'm trying to say is mindfulness may have come from a certain sect of religion, but it is not only aligned to one segment of people or one kind of people who follow Buddha or who follow certain religious practices. It can be practiced by anyone, because we are only talking about bringing our awareness fully onto the object of contemplation when we are being mindful. As you rightly said, meditation is not the only way. Oh, yeah, that's also one misconception. Mindfulness means should we meditate? No, mindfulness can be brought through multiple elements. That's the beauty of being mindful. You can still be working, you can still be talking, you can be doing your mundane daily chores at work, in your kitchen. Still, you can bring mindfulness into that practice. And of course, meditation is one of those ways to get more mindful, because here you are entirely focusing your awareness on your breath. Even though you have multiple ways you can do it, but still. And then there is another question which says, oh, it takes a lot of time. Mindfulness, you need to meditate, and meditation takes a lot of time. Meditation is boring. So yes, it is. It assumes boring. It looks like you feel sleepy. It looks like you can't focus, you can't concentrate when you're meditating. You feel like your mind is totally occupied with so many of thoughts, be it your present or the past, but that's what minds do. So that is where we are trying to tame that thoughts, and bring some calm into ourselves. So that is, and it doesn't take a lot of time. You can just start with 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes. If you really want to use mindfulness meditation as a means to get mindful, start slow and then keep going forward. Instead of you assuming that it takes a lot of time. No, it doesn't. And you might feel sleepy. You might feel, as I said, all of these, every one of us, I'm sure, including me, I don't have shy to say or admit, even when I started the journey, it is very, very normal for me also to find myself being more drowsy or not able to focus. Lot of to-do tasks coming into the mind immediately the moment I think about, okay, now let me meditate. And it happens to every one of us. So whoever are listening to this podcast, who still haven't integrated this form of meditation, I invite you to try in small buckets and keep going. And very soon you will understand that it doesn't take a lot of time, or it is not such a difficult thing to tame your mind and find that calm or find that sense of balance in yourself. Neither you start learning to be more non-judgmental about the current experiences, if at all, if I may put it in non-jargon, no big jargons to my talk today, so that it becomes so colloquial, like we are talking about any practice that can be brought forward into our home. And to top it, we'll start being more self-compassionate. And it's not, there are other people who think that it's only to control, you're forcing yourself. No, mindfulness is about you allowing that experience to fully experience yourself without judging that whole experience as good or bad or right or wrong. You're just allowing it, seeing it as is, and let it go away on its own. So in this practice, we are not trying to force ourselves or trying to escape from difficult emotions. All we are doing is acknowledging the presence of it, accepting that whole experience to the fullest, including the discomfortable ones, the challenging ones, or the good ones. We're seeing that as is and trying to allowing it to pass away on its own. And then focusing on the task on hand, kind of a thing. And there are some people who think that mindfulness is only to escape from difficult emotions. Again, it's not about escapism. It's not about avoidance. We all talk about acceptance. Inside of that, we are trying to be more compassionate with ourselves, more acceptful about ourselves and the experiences of the thoughts, without judging why is it happening to me or pushing it away on ignoring it. I'm trying to accept it and then fully embrace my own self. And definitely there are many people who think that mindfulness is a fix-all. It's not a fix-all. It's a helpful tool for us, but it's not a cure-all or a catch-all situation where you just do once and you're gotten mindful. Like every other skill, this also requires patience, practice, and daily integration into your life. With everyday consistent practice, with everyday consistent
it's been going well.
Thought towards being more mindful in every action you do, you keep raising that bar of yours on how mindful you are at work, at your home, while talking to your parents or talking to your spouses, your kids, your friends, and so on and so forth. In all areas of well-being, you can still become more mindful in every element you're doing. So I think I have covered a lot. Did I miss out on anything? And we don't have a specific goal towards when you're trying to be more mindful. It is all about fully being present in the present moment, at this moment, irrespective of your current state of mind, irrespective of how you are at this moment with respect to your headspace. You're having stress, or you're having anxiety, or you're dealing with any challenging situation at your home. It has nothing to do to any of it. All of this, we are trying to, amidst all that, we are trying to train our mind to be in the present moment. Whatever is the current state of mind, I am trying to bring myself to be in this present moment. Then the moment, with fully embracing, accepting, being kind to myself on whatever is that experience today for me. And then there are other myths like it will allow me to force my attention towards one particular object or one element which I'm contemplating today, maybe an image of Buddha or my breath or anything else to that matter, to a sound or vision. And that way it stops me from thinking anything. No, we are trying to guide our attention to breath, allow thoughts to come and go naturally without any force or any prohibition. We are not saying to say, is this kind of thought? Okay, then it enters into me. Oh, this is this thought I'm rejecting. We are not doing any of that when we are practicing mindfulness. We are paying attention to that object of contemplation. If it is breath, we are giving our 100% attention to that moment by moment awareness of breathing, allowing the thoughts to come and go like a cloud, like a passing wave. But we are not trying to attach it to one thought, or we are trying to derive a meaning about a thought, or we are not trying to engage with that chain of thoughts. We're just being present with that thought. Even if it is a discomfortable thought or a sensation or any experience to that matter, all we are doing is allowing it to enter into our spaces with its enormity and allowing it to pass on its own, and then bringing our awareness back to the object of contemplation, which is our breath. So these are some typical myths I have experienced when I'm training people on mindfulness. Pointing. Okay. So to summarize, mindfulness is about, it's not just about emptying mind, but it's about observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment. And it's not just for relaxation or stress reduction, but it is about cultivating moment by moment awareness, about being so kind to yourself and others, and also to enhance your overall well-being. It's not just for your relaxation or your stress or anxiety reduction. And definitely, it's not limited to a religion or a sect. It is for anyone, regardless of their spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs. It can be practiced, and it's not only through meditation that we can achieve mindfulness. We can bring mindfulness towards everyday tasks, and in everything you can be mindful. And it doesn't definitely require a lot of time and effort. It's just like a switch. You just have to ensure that when you are mindless, you just have to bring back your present, your moment, your thought to the current moment you are handling, and that becomes mindfulness for you. And it is definitely not to escape from your difficult emotions or to fix your problems. It's all about being in that present moment by acknowledging and accepting all those emotions, including the discomfortable ones, the challenging ones, and try to accept it, see and go, and then embracing it in its wholeness. And definitely it's not a catch-all solution or a cure-all solution. It's definitely a very helpful tool for us to help ourselves live our life to a fuller point. But as any skill, it requires a lot of practice, determination, and consistency. Every day kind of a thing. So that is what I think I thought as common myths. And here there's no force. Yeah. We are not trying to prohibit any emotions or thoughts. We are just allowing it to experience in its totality.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think that's super important to keep in mind, because a lot of people might get overwhelmed when they start practicing mindfulness. They might go, "Oh my God, this could be really hard." But the fact is, it is hard. It's just we just need to understand the basics and what is actually right. And I think it's important too to know it's a practice, and truly you can apply it in different areas. Now, we have this.
I would say that I would not say it is hard, Lu, if I may have to correct it in a way. I would put it in this way. It is only then you will get present to how many thoughts you are having at that moment. And that is why it appears to be hard to tame and put you into it. But if you look at it from, okay, now I'm going to look at each thought and see how I can be fully present in this moment. That is the, I think, if at all I had to word 2-3 words into the word hard of what you said, this might be appearing as hard to people, but the practice itself is not hard. It just, as any person, any skill, if you're learning swimming, obviously you have to float, you need to do your breath control, you need to learn to use your arms and limbs in a total symphony. All of that, if you look at from a person who has not yet learned swimming, it might appear as hard. But the moment you jump into it and then start learning, it just takes off. So that is how I say as it's the same experience you have when you practice this also.
Yeah, totally. I think it's just something that I hear from a lot of people, that especially people that I've talked to about mindfulness and meditation, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's so hard. I cannot do that. I'm never going to be able to sit there and just observe and listen to my thoughts. Cannot do that. I have to do something." And I think that's where people get it wrong, because mindfulness is something that we can practice, right? So we'll get into the practical part of the conversation very shortly. But before we move on to something more practical, let's close this out. And I would love for you to share any other insights that we might not have been able to cover, because this is such a big topic and we can probably talk about it at length. I'm very conscious of time though, so I would probably love to wrap this up here so we can talk about a practice. So before we move on, is there anything else on the topic of mindfulness you would like to share with our audience?
Yeah. So it is often times that when you're starting mindfulness, or when you're even in the middle of it, you feel that there is your mind starts drifting away and you start realizing the lot of thoughts, past thoughts, future thoughts about tasks, all of these keep coming into our head. And what I want all of us to understand is that it's pretty normal for everyone. All of us go through these experiences. So what we can do is, whenever your mind has wandered, the first thing we want to do is to acknowledge that my mind has wandered. It's very normal. Human mind has 50,000 thoughts a day. So, when your mind has wandered, you should say, yeah, I'm alive. I'm still working. So, and gently, without hitting yourself hard or without berating yourself for not being able to focus, just gently bring your focus onto the object of contemplation, be it your breath, be it your, as I said, your daily chores and every of the elements on which you want to be mindful. You can eat mindfully, you can wash your vessels, you can, when you're making your dishes, you can still bring mindfulness to it. Or when you're working on your important task, you can still bring mindfulness to it either. So a lot of activities, when you're walking, you can be more mindful. And every time you're distracted, only thing you need to do is acknowledge, label the thought that, yes, I got distracted and this is the thought that is happening, or it's a bodily sensation. And then let that experience be over, let it pass away on its own, and then bring your focus back to your breath. Or in case if you are finding, for those who said, oh, we can't observe our thoughts, you can just do a quick grounding practice, which is you're engaging your 5 senses. Or you can do your metta meditation, which is, sending good to everyone around you. So start with your own self, or start with your friends, your family, your acquaintances, people who are going through difficult things, people whom you don't know, and then to your own self. You can just do this practice either for all those who can't focus on meditation as a means. Start with visualize. It is generally like a visualization practice where you're sending good will to everyone around you and people whom you meet, you see every day, but you don't say hi to them or you don't even know. So all of those can bring those experiences, but it all starts with you getting there. So that is what is something which I would also want to add upon.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think a lot of people would benefit from that, especially since we talked about how some people, when they hear about this or when they start, they're kind of like, oh, that's so hard. They're probably going to have those moments of mind wandering, as you just mentioned. And that's a really good tip. And I think it's good to be gentle with ourselves when we start our mindfulness journey, because I know for me, it was definitely like that. I used to be one of those people. 5 years ago, I was like, meditation, mindfulness, really? No, I'll never be able to do that. That's just not how I deal with, myself. And I'm not going to be able to sit there and, meditate or just like sit with my thoughts. That's awful. But now I embrace it wholeheartedly and I just love it so much. And I feel like it's like it's like a single tasking journey that we should all be on, because now we have so much multitasking going on. Like something I really love that you just said is washing the dishes. when I used to wash the dishes and I had to have something on, like I had to have music playing or I had to have a TV show on or something like that. Otherwise, I won't be able to do the task. But now I just enjoy it. And it actually
Yes.
helps to calm my mind and like untangle my thoughts. And it's kind of like a way to wind down.
Yes.
And obviously, it's not like I achieved that overnight. It took a lot of practice and, being gentle with myself. But yeah, I think if our audience is kind of like, oh, I'm not sure, it might be challenging. I think this is a really good point, and I hope my personal story would help them as well to know that everyone can do this. It's just a matter of what we think.
Yes.
So that covers, most of the insights that we wanted to talk about when it comes to mindfulness. But let's talk about something more practical, so we can, sort of take away something today. And no matter where we're at in our mindfulness journey, I hope this is where people can really take something with them after listening to our conversation.
Sure.
So, what is a practice that you do to embrace the present moment?
I use deep breathing as an anchor. So every single time I lose my focus or I get scared because of whatever, fearful about my finances or because I run a company and cash flow is passion part of this. Or when I'm a curriculum developer. I mean, I do a lot of curriculum development, which nobody else in the world has done it. So it's more of an innovation kind of a thing. And I'll get lost. So I don't know. And I tend to avoid it as a go-to mechanism. The moment I do all of these, I first get present to it. And I gently, if I tell I'm fearful, I pat myself. And I tell myself that, yeah, it's been hard. Yes, I agree, but this will also go away. And allow myself to breathe, center myself, do a quick body scan, and then get back to work. And if it takes even 5 to 10 minutes, at times it takes even 30 minutes for me to, come back to wherever I am and get more productive with whatever I was doing. So from slumber to getting productive, the whole cycle may take 30 minutes. So as you said earlier, used to be hard. Even I used to be really hard on myself, saying, how come I'm not able to recover from this? Or certain times, I'm an impact founder. I measure my success when it comes to really making an impact on the people, or how much they're able to incorporate whatever skills I'm building into their daily lives. And oftentimes it is not investor friendly either. So sometimes I get to hear a lot of things which are not very, which is not very happy to hear from an investor, because they're all into numbers and stuff like that. So even those times, it takes a little more time for me to recover. And I usually used to hit myself hard on why am I not able to do that and stuff like that. But slowly I learned to embrace myself, and I'm more acceptance about the fact that I'm an impact founder. And I now give a disclaimer to everyone I meet that I'm an impact founder. I'm not a number person. And in case if you don't want to invest, that's fine. So I'm become more and more self-aware about myself and more calming myself on the times when things are really, really chaotic or very, very depressing. And when I get to hear a lot of derogatory words or anything of that sense from around the world, I am at peace with myself and I don't get that perturbed. Neither I make myself wrong, neither I make another person wrong, but I try to see it as is, and without adding any meaning to it, without getting any judgmental about why me, why not the other, and still be okay with that, be my own loving self, my chippier self when I'm talking to them, not having any resentments, but being grateful for all the experiences I'm going through. That is how I started incorporating being more mindful about, right from not being able to innovate, or if I have a creative block, to not able to focus, to manage my negative emotions or distressful emotions, to be more fully present into that moment so that I can be more productive in terms of doing that things with a lot of fastness. As you rightly said, I don't usually do multitasking. I do single tasking and put all my energies into that and move on to the next task. So these are all the ways I started taking this back into my life.
Yeah, that's really good to hear that you have that practice, especially because I'm sure you have a lot on your plate from the sound of things, and I'm sure that's why you're able to ground yourself and do so much work. Because I think a lot of people have this impression that, oh, if this person is doing a lot of things, they must be multitasking. While in fact, I think not really. They really focus on one thing, they get it done, and they move on to the next one. And even in interactions, I find that you have more impactful conversations or discussions when you're fully there. You're
Yes.
absolutely present, and you don't worry about what else is going on in the back of your mind. In a way, that's kind of multitasking. We're talking, but then in the back of your mind, you're kind of like planning your grocery list for the night or something. That's kind of like, it's pretty classic multitasking. It's not helpful.
Yeah. Yes, it's definitely not helpful. I learned
Yeah.
it. You need to do a time management, scheduling, and fully present into that task. Then go to the next task, next task, next task. And if I missed out anything, I'm okay. I'll just be gentle with myself and say, it's all right. We are humans, end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yeah. I think when I was growing up, I saw this quote as well. And I think this quote is by Jim Elliot. It goes, "Wherever you are, be all there." And I think that's kind of like, embracing the art of mindfulness in a certain way. Probably not to the discussion that we're talking about in terms of, mindfulness wholeheartedly, but I think it applies to our discussion so far. And
Definitely.
I saw it and I loved it, but I didn't know why. And, now I kind of know, especially after you have shared a lot of the insights earlier about, how this has been so helpful for you and how it's going to help a lot of people. So I think, it's good for us to all try. If anything, if anyone is super new to this and they just don't know where to start. Breathing practice is something that we can all try. And, I tried this years ago, and, in the first try, it was like a 1 minute practice. And that was it, just 1 minute. And it was not that long. Obviously, it felt much longer than 1 minute because, you're just basically sitting there and breathing correctly according to the practice. But I
Right.
find it to be extremely helpful. So, yeah.
True.
It's really beautiful. Thank you for that. And finally, before we close, this is your open mic, Teju. I'm wondering what you're passionate about, what you would like to share with our audience. I know you're one with many passions and many projects, so I'm not going to be surprised if you talk about one of them. But other than that, the floor is yours.
Yes. So right now, I have developed a curriculum, which we are also statistically validated, which I'm very happy about youth. Today's youth, I have started taking entertainment as a go-to approach than their academic pursuits. So what's happening is in India, most of the youth are leaning towards social media, gaming, entertainment, having no interest in academic pursuits, and also getting into mood and violence problems. So I have developed a curriculum which can help youth bounce back into what is meaningful for them in terms of taking care of their well-being and ensuring they have goals and work towards their paths and stuff like that. So the Student Success Program is right now getting integrated in India, in schools, engineering colleges, and that I'm very excited about because so far in India, mental health skills were not part of schooling. So that's my dream come true element since I've been working on this specific element since 10 years. It's really very, very gratifying for me to get acceptance from multiple stakeholders. So, and I'm looking forward on how we can enhance well-being skills of every youth and see to that they're able to perform to their best potential. So that's something which I'm really passionate and I'm very happy about doing it at this moment.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think whenever I hear about people talking about their passion, it's kind of like a time to sort of rejuvenate inspiration and other things, because I think it's also part of mindfulness too. Sometimes you just kind of go about your day and then you're on autopilot most of the time. You just kind of do whatever you want to do or whatever you have to do for that day, and you forget about what you truly want to do in life. So, when I hear that people are talking about passion projects, like you talking about your project with the curriculum, it's really inspiring. I take that as my mindful moment, just taking in what you're doing. I thank you for sharing that. And it's a reminder for me to, take a moment after this conversation to reflect on my day and think about what I want to do as well. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for being here. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you, Lu. And you've been wonderful host. I will remember you for a long time because you've been such a fantastic host. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You have been listening to Doing Well, the Wellbeing Science Insights Podcast, produced by the Wellbeing Science Labs, a division of LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes are available from 10 life management perspectives and can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, and other podcasting apps available on your devices. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, share, and subscribe to our channel so that other people can find it and we can continue to provide quality content. More of our work can be found on our website, we.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Lu Ngo. Thanks for tuning in.